Every single year, there's a new best trading strategy. Different name, same promises, and you're gonna get the same amount of blown accounts. So instead of guessing or trusting screenshots on X, I wanted to answer the simple question. What trading strategies are working right now with verified data in 2026. In this video, we're breaking down the top performing strategies on AlphaInsider, trading both stocks and crypto. The reason for using AlphaInsider is because every single trading strategy on AlphaInsider is tracked by third-party Polygon data feeds, meaning every single trade that comes in is verified, we can trust it, and it's what a trading strategy would actually trade. So we get to see a strategy's full results like we're pulling back the curtain and not someone hiding what's bad and only showing you what's good. You're gonna see what these top strategies trade, how they trade, and how much they're up on a percentage basis over the past year. Now, if you're new here, stick around to the end of the video because I'm gonna show you exactly how you can copy these trading strategies and even automate them with your own brokerage account. And it's pretty cool. All right, so here I am on the site. I have filtered to the year. I'm filtering by performance, and I also filtered by a minimum of 2 trades. Ideally, you want to see more than that, but a minimum of 2 trades, meaning it's somewhat active over the past year. Some strategies on the site you will notice don't take a lot of trades, and some take a lot more. And I'll talk about some of that and potentially the reasons why as we get through the video. So right now, we are looking at the top 6 trading strategies on the screen with the best overall performance, whether it's trading stocks or crypto in the past 1 year time span. And what we're looking at is the first one here up 272%, second one 208%, third 205, closely behind. Fourth, we got a bigger gap down to 162%, which is still pretty darn good. Fifth, we have 142, and then sixth place, we have 133%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the top 3 overall, and then I'm going to go over the top 3 in the individual categories for crypto and stocks. And what we see on these cards is all of these dots. So you have the obvious percentage, we have the name, and then we have all the performances over the past day, week, month, year, 5 years, but all of these dots represent trades. So we can see how active a strategy is just at a glance without diving deeper into what it's actually doing, where we can verify all the trades, which we're going to do next, but we can see how active it is. So what I'm seeing is that the #1 trading strategy over the past year on AlphaInsider that's taken at least 2 trades is the most active. It's one of the most active strategies. It's not the most active. It's one of the most active on the site in general, and it's actually done pretty well. So it's taken a lot of trades, and to show that it's actually doing really good and performing really well is kind of cool, because what you'll see sometimes on the site is certain strategies, or people will have a strategy to upload to the site, which, by the way, anybody can upload a strategy to the site. Anybody can do this. And so we get to see what's actually working. And so the more, the better. I mean, the more we have, the more we can kind of pin this one versus that one, the more options people have to kind of follow along. And really, the better the site becomes. But at the end of the day, we see a lot of strategies that don't have a lot of trades because they might get long or short a specific asset or a stock, or let's say crypto. And if the movement over the time span we're looking at happens to go along in their favor, well, now that strategy is crushing it. And so you'll see that sometimes with certain strategies out there. But the point of putting at least 2 trades means we're filtering by a little bit more activity. And all of these that we're looking at right now have at least 3 or 4 trades minimum, which is better than 0. But again, that just kind of caters to more of that swing trading approach with at least the top performers. So what I've noticed is that we see a lot of less active strategies do well. And there's obviously a line to be drawn, because just because something is less active doesn't mean that it's good, because maybe you just bought Bitcoin and held Bitcoin during a period where Bitcoin was going up. That doesn't mean that it's good. A less active meaning it doesn't trade every single day. We tend to see those do better. That's just from my experience looking at the site now for well over a year. So let's dive into the INTC DEMA strategy. Let's talk about what this one actually does. So it trades, as you can imagine, INTC, which is Intel. It is a stock trading strategy, and it trades Intel. That's it. Look at the history. That's it. On this page, once we click into a strategy, we can see all of the trade history. So I'll talk about that for this one, but once we get into the other ones, I won't waste your time with that, just so that you have an understanding of like how we can do this or how you can verify anything. That's what I recommend you do, is just verify how often it trades. And so you can see that, for example, we had a sell on the 4th of December. We had a buy on the 19th, and that was it. Now we're into January of 2026, and we haven't had a trade yet. at least from when I'm making this video. So it's not trading every single day, but we can see that every month it trades a couple of times. It looks like the month of November, we had a couple trades. Looks like October, we had a couple of trades go through. So we had a couple of trades per month. Another thing that I'll direct your attention to is we can see this is showing us the percentage. This is actually hitting a new high of the past year as we speak. But above that, there's this little red arrow. This is actually on the prior page as well. This is going to show you the max percentage drawdown. So this means that if you were to hold this strategy over the past year, you would be holding this thing through a 52% max drawdown, which I would imagine is this period right here after we had this big push going into, let's say, the second half of the year, had a pretty big pullback before it's now done very, very well into the end of the year. That's something that we have to be paying attention to on these strategies because it gives us a sense of like how volatile the strategy has been. It could be more or less volatile in the future, but we at least know how volatile it has been. And then we can kind of gauge our position size from there. So some of the strategies are going to give you a more detailed understanding of what it does. And I'll show you guys how to do that with some of the next ones. But what we have right here is it tells us that this is a strategy that trades Intel on the 10-minute chart. And it uses a double exponential moving average to find when to go into a position on the buy and the sell side. That's all we have for the explanation of what this strategy does. Now, that was the number one performer. Let's dive back to the site and let's talk about the number two performer, which is the ETH Sailor to Shift ratio. This one, if we dive into the explanation, we have a full explanation here. And then we also have a link to the strategy on TradingView. So if I click on that link, so we open this up, we have the open source script where we have a chart, we have the source code, and we can even click on use on chart, which will open this up on our charts where we can change the ticker symbol and see how this strategy would work on whatever we're looking at. So right now I have Ethereum pulled up, which is what it's trading. If I go back to AlphaInsider, we can see that it's trading Ethereum. And so now I'm able to follow along and see and verify essentially when it's taking trades, when it's getting in, when it's getting out. And we can see that we have a lot of buys and sells, or not a lot, I should say. We have a couple of buys and sells on this indicator. But if we jump down or jump back to AlphaInsider, we can see this isn't a super active strategy. So we've got an entry, we're up on the position, an exit, and then it's not in a position for a period of time. So it looks like it got out of the position on the 15th of June and then didn't get back in until the 6th of July. So it was off for almost a month. Then it was in and it was up nicely. That's where it made the bulk of its gains, really from July all the way to when we had the sell in September. And then from September all the way to December, it wasn't in a position. Then it had a small loss in December. So it's pretty cool that we can see all of that and see how this thing is working, get the open source code, and then also see that it had a max drawdown of 20%. So what we're able to do here is we're able to pull up the TradingView scripts. We can see how it's performing, but then we can verify how it actually trades, because sometimes you'll pull up a TradingView script and there's a ton of repainting, which if you're not sure what that is, we have a full video diving deeper into what repainting is and how we can avoid that if you want to check it out here on the channel. I'll also leave a link to that in the video description box as well. Now, the third best performing strategy is not that far behind number two. That is the mean reversion and trend following strategy. Here, we've got the exact same thing, a detailed description. We can pull up the TradingView link, which shows you the open source code. We have the strategy report. We have the source code as well. A bit more complex on the source code for this one because it's got a little more going on. I've already read through this. I know what this one does. And specifically, this has been trading Google the entire year. It actually, the strategy only went live on the site back in March, and it had a couple of trades. And then essentially what it did is it got long Google, and it stayed long since, because that's what the code tells us to do. It trades based off the RSI when it's below the 200 period moving average. Once it gets above the 200 moving average, this thing just gets long and stays that way. That's what the trading strategy says. So if we jump down to the details, you can read all that if you would like to. Again, this is all publicly available for free. If you want to check this stuff out, all you got to do is go over to AlphaInsider, make a free account, and you can see all this stuff. We can also verify that it is currently in a trade with a position that is open, it's moving around, and it's done really, really well. This is one of those strategies that I think is a really, really cool swing trading strategy. I have a full detailed video on this strategy. I will link that video up in the description box as well if you want to check it out. Highly recommend it. We actually had some really good feedback from that video, and I'll do more videos like that, diving deeper into other strategies, because we got to understand what it does, we got to test it, we got to back test it, and then we got to see how it actually trades live through AlphaInsider. So right now, this thing is just collecting dividends and staying long as Google is above the 200 period moving average, which even if it does pull back from the buy entry that this had back here earlier in May, it's going to be substantially higher. All right, so those were the top 3 trading strategies on AlphaInsider over the past year. Let's dive into specifically stocks first. and then we'll see what the top winners are there. So obviously we know we have the INTC DEMA strategy we talked about, the mean reversion that's trading Google. So we have those two already, we know. Number 3 comes in at 96.72%. I don't really want to dive deep into this one because when you open this up and see what it actually did, it essentially bought AMD back on March 13th and it sold it on August 6th and it was up a ton because AMD had a huge run and it's done nothing since. So can we really rely upon that strategy? Probably not. If we jump down to number 2, we have the Palantir PLTR VOS strategy. This one gets a lot more interest because it's a lot more active in terms of a trading strategy. So let's talk about this one, what it does. We can see a brief description of what the strategy does. If you are familiar with the VOS indicator, well, then this might actually ring some bells for you. If not, maybe it's worth looking into if you're curious about what the VOS indicator really is all about. But we can see that this strategy did very well early. It pulled back, went red, actually was negative on the year into April, which the market was very volatile around this period of time. So that's not super surprising. And then it's done very well since, and it's recovered nicely. And it's up 81%. Again, trading just Palantir, as we can see all through here. This had a max drawdown of 67%. So that's the biggest we've seen so far. And that really just came at the end of March. The market was red. And then we had the huge, massive move down with the massive tariff scares that we saw. And this thing did not do well during that period. I'm not sure if you can expect a lot of stuff to do well during that period, but certain things held up and certain trading strategies just trade based off of their criteria. And so volatility in the markets doesn't necessarily matter or affect it that much. The next one would be the VIX futures basis strategy. This is up 65% over the past year. It had a max drawdown of 22%. And it's not super active, but we've got a bunch of trades here. And it took a trade essentially that made the year where it entered in back on May 11th and didn't exit until October 12th. Let's take a look at that right there. Back on May 11th. So here's the entry back in May, and then here's the exit in October. And we can see that it essentially got long Google at 158 and it sold at 239, locking in a large gain, which essentially made the year, although it's done well since. So if we open up the link, we got the open source script, we got the chart, the strategy report, the source code. And the cool thing is that when I open it on my own charts, I can enter any ticker I want. I can experiment to see how it performed on different stocks. And then I can even create my own strategy based off the source code, just trading my own stock. If you're interested in connecting your own TradingView strategy to AlphaInsider, we have a video on the channel already showing you guys how to do that. I will link that up in the video description box as well. You can also find information about that on our website. The last one that I want to mention is going to be the easy to use MACD plus RSI strategy right here by Trends Are Sexy. This one, same thing. We have the link to TradingView. We can pull up to check it out. To see more about it, we can see the chart, report, and the source code on the strategy. Again, not that complex. We can jump back to AlphaInsider to verify the performance. And this thing has been trading ticker symbol BIP. We can see not super active, but a couple of trades over the past year, and it's done pretty well. It's currently not in a position as I film this video. It exited back here in October, and it's been sitting flat since. But to be honest, sometimes you don't want to do anything, and you want to just keep your gains. So that's kind of cool. And that right there will round out our top stock trading strategies on AlphaInsider over the past year. Let's now jump into crypto. I'm going to sort by crypto, get rid of stock, and we're going to see that ETH Sailor to Shift strategy we talked about earlier. Now let's dive into the next ones. There's 3 more I want to cover. Rate of change trend strategy right here. We can see also has a link to TradingView to check out the details there. Up 163.6%, max drawdown of 36%, which actually is not that bad for a crypto strategy. Sometimes this can be a bit more volatile, but you know, it just depends upon what it does. This one trades ETH, we can see, trading ETH over the past year, and we've got a good number of trades. Nothing insane, maybe like on average 1 or 2 a month. We can see going back periods of time where it doesn't trade, periods of time where it's a bit more active. And as of late, we can currently see that it's in a position on ETH, the current purchase price, or the previous purchase price, I should say, that was made back on January 4th. And then the current price, it's up. Nothing crazy, but it currently is up as we speak right now. Next one is this Luna Owl strategy right here. More information with, again, a link to TradingView. This one specifically is more of a price channel strategy that definitely caters to those who are more swing trading focused. And we can see it's trading ETH over the past year. We have, looks like a little bit less in terms of trades than the last strategy, but it is up 143.3% and currently running. It currently is down about 2.4% from the last purchase price on ETH that it made, looks like back here in December, almost about a month ago from when I'm filming the video. This thing was up a lot more. At one point, it was up about 350%. So if you were on the site back in August, this thing looked insane. It's obviously come back since, and the max drawdown was 63, meaning we had a big move up, and then it has given a lot of that back, although now it's still up 143. That's one thing that I do want to say when you're looking at these strategies, just from my experience. Don't take this as financial advice by any means. We do see a lot of these strategies that go on huge runs. Is it the best time to enter or copy or follow a strategy when it's up the most, when it's hitting a new high for the year? It might not be. It could be, but it also might not be, because we tend to see things eventually come back a little bit, relatively speaking. And at least for this year, you have a reference that in that 150 to 200%, 250% range is kind of where the best ones fall. If you're expecting to see more than that, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but that's where probabilities come into play. It's like, well, most of the strategies on the site aren't doing that. So do we expect this to keep going and never come back, never pull back? That's where you have to make a judgment call. Now, for the last one that is up 133% on the year, that is currently sitting out, it is 100% cash as we speak, is this EMA 1010, EMA 2121 crossover strategy by Simon342. Same thing, link to TradingView right there. I won't bore us with diving deeper into all that. It trades ETH yet again, kind of a common theme here. A lot of ETH strategies doing pretty well on the site. Up 132, max drawdown of 44%, which is not as bad as we've seen. This did really, really well at one point back in August, and then has pulled back since, but now is out and sitting flat, waiting for the next entry signal on ETH. Okay, so these strategies are awesome. It's great that we have it. We know that they're tracked by a third party. We know we can see it, they're verified, but what can we do with them? Well, I'll tell you guys the first thing we can do. For example, I'm going to use the Luna Owl strategy here that I thought was interesting, because I haven't subscribed this one yet. When you have an account on AlphaInsider, which you can make for free, you click on the subscribe button. This is going to get added to your subscriptions tab. Click on understand and agree, and then subscribe. But you notice there's an auto trade button right next to it. And now once I subscribe, we'll have an auto trade option right here. I'll talk about that in 1 second. You'll find your subscriptions up in the subscriptions tab. But if I click on the strategy inside of here, there's an option next to the auto trade in the top right. There's a bell. Click on this. I could now get alerted through my account or even through my mobile device, if I had notifications turned on, of all the trades, all the posts, and any events. Most of the time, you're going to see just trades popping through here, but I can have all the alerts turned on. Personally, I'll leave just trades on for now. So every single time this strategy takes a trade, I'll be alerted. I could copy that trade. I can see it, get the alert, go on my phone, go to ETH, and buy or sell at whatever price with whatever size I personally want to use. I can even click on this auto trade button. And because it's a crypto strategy, as of right now, you have 3 options. Hyperliquid, which is highly recommended, Bitfinex, and Binance. The reason why Hyperliquid is highly recommended is because the $100 minimum deposit and no KYC. Those are awesome. If you're curious about how to connect that, we have a video showing you how to do so, but you'll essentially enter your public and private API keys, and AlphaInsider isn't going to access to, any withdrawal permissions or any of that stuff in your account. All that's going to happen is that when a trade signal fires on this strategy, it's going to send it to Hyperliquid, and Hyperliquid's going to immediately execute the trade and get you long, short, exit, enter, whatever the trade needs to be done. It's going to take care of that for you on your behalf. So you don't have to actually do anything, which that's really, really cool. And you can create your first automation on one strategy for free. And we also recently changed the pricing. We've dropped the pricing so that if you want to create a bot that has multiple strategies, so you want to go and use that Luna strategy, you want to go use one of the other top strategies, or even pull your own in, you can automate up to 100 strategies in one trading bot with one broker connection for $15 per month. And the premium account, you can get up to 5 broker connections with 100 strategies per broker, essentially having 5 trading bots with a ton of strategies in there, so you can diversify your trading with all those strategies. If you're interested, the link to AlphaInsider, like always, will be below. Check it out. Highly recommend it. And if you have a trading strategy that you want to upload to the sites, A, let us know in the comments, and B, load it up. You can make it private or you can make it public. If you want to keep it private for now, do so. But if you do want to create strategies for the site, we are planning on having a competition and giving away prizes, as in free accounts and monetary prizes on top of that for top performers. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.